Howdy, folks. Howdy. Lighting's not great, but we're decorating. I've got one Spurs shirt up. Don't worry, it's going to be surrounded by Spurs memorabilia and Spurs shirts. New house is coming, baby. So welcome back to the Hotspur Hood. It's a weird time for me to stream on a Monday. I streamed last Monday as well because I come back from holiday. Don't usually do Monday shows. I couldn't on the weekend. Couldn't do one on the weekend. So here we are. Much more to talk about. There's always more topics that pop up every day at Spurs. So even more topics than if I did stream yesterday, let's say. Tomorrow night, 10 p.m, we're going live. Slightly different again, usually the N17 effect, surrounded by guests, unlike my solo streams. Obviously, the game kicks off. The Carabao Cup game tomorrow against Fulham. We're going to talk about that in a little bit more depth towards the end of the stream. So we are going to be streaming later. If you join us for that, it would be fantastic. We'll have some really good guests on. Before we get going today, please make sure you like, sub, hit the bell, super chat. It's all available. Most of it's free other than super chatting. But regardless, on these streams, on these solo streams, I'll read out practically everyone's message in the comments. Even if you don't put your message in the comments, please make sure you smash that like button. It's free to like, it's free to subscribe, and it's free to hit the notification bell. So yeah, on the road to 3K. Okay, first question. First of all, question time's back. So question time wasn't back during the transfer window because we had loads to talk about in terms of transfers. It's still open now, but question time is back for the season. And first up, we're going to go here. 7 out of 9 points, first 3 games, glory days coming back. Some people will have you believe that the glory days are indeed coming back after 3 games. First of all, let's see who's in the house. We've got Eugene. Big up, Eugene. Hi, everyone. Big up. Purple and gold until the club is sold. Leave you out. Gary O'Neill. Big up, my brother. Brother Eugene. Brother Gary. How you doing? And Dexter. Hola, amigos. Hola, amigas. You heard the intro. Is that because you're Spanish or in terms of the intro? It's a pretty funky intro. Okay. In terms of the 7 out of the 9 points, glory days coming back. Tell me what you think. Are the glory days coming back? My personal opinion, I'd have expected 7 points from 9. I would have been very happy with 9, let's say, even if it is just the first 3 games. You can't not be. But points aren't really the key at this stage. Saying that points aren't the key. Performances are key. Opening game against Brentford could have gone either way. Man United game 2, you could have said that could easily ended up as a draw. And the Bournemouth game were comfortable, relatively comfortable. I think ended the first half. It's the only time they really looked like scoring. So that was an outright deserved win, the last game. The biggest positive, if you're going to ask me about the first 3 games of the season, I think it's a positive that most would go with. Of course, Maddison. Of course, Bissouma's second season since his injury. The second half of last season looks absolutely fantastic. So that quartet, the centre midfield quartet and Maddison just in front, I'm very happy with. Saar looks fantastic as well in the last 2 games. And Bissouma's a big one. Bissouma looks confident. He's running the show over the last 2 games, living up to his height with a young Saar next to him. It's looking good in centre midfield. And you've got Skip Højbjerg as backup, who I think probably both will be playing against Fulham. I think both certainly will play. I think Skip will definitely play against Fulham tomorrow night. I think some legs are going to be rested. Højbjerg, he's tricky. He might be sold. The whole window we've been hearing that he's going to be sold, but Levy wants £38 million from Atletico Madrid. I don't think he's going to get £38 million. If he comes down a bit for the last few days of the window, I think we will sell Højbjerg. But I'd keep him anyway. I wouldn't be surprised to see him start tomorrow. We've got a bit of depth in there, and we've got Bentancur coming back. It's never easy to come back from an ACL, but he is coming back. He's supposed to be back in October, they say. So we've got a bit of depth in centre midfield. It certainly looks good. And some creativity, some much needed creativity behind the striker. The problem is we've lost the striker. We've lost the big striker. And we're going to talk about that in the next segment, I'd say. 35 games. We've still got 35 games to go, so let's keep real. We haven't come up against a great attack yet. Visa, the Brentford striker, because they had no Ivan Toney. He's okay, he's quick. Not a great attacker by any means. Rashford, 1 good season out of 5. He done okay last season. Man United with Garnacho on the left. And Antonio on the right, Anthony, on the right. It's not good. That's not a good attack either, let's face it. Not a great defence either for Brentford. Man United's was a bit stronger, for sure. But we haven't come up against a good attack. And the problem was always this defence. How will we perform against better attacks? And then you got Bournemouth. Solanke up front. We looked the most confident and it looked the most comfortable against Bournemouth. But Solanke struggles to score at championship level. So there's a long, long way to go. There's a long, long way to go. But of course, the early signs are good. They are good. The question is, how do we do and how does Ange adapt when we come up against better sides? How will we adapt? Once the transfer window is shut, mid-October, I think we'll see properly where Spurs are heading. 6 weeks, 10 games. That's when we can really start to assess things. 3 games is far too early. People think we're going to win the title. Some people think we're challenging for the title for definite. I heard this 2 years ago under Nuno. We won the first 3 games. First 3 games we won under Nuno, including Man City. People thought we were fighting for the title. 6 games later, we were sacked. 6 or 7 games later, we were sacked. So let's just be careful. Not being negative, I'm being a realist. Let's be careful because some people are jumping the gun. If I see that Robbie Williams Ange song once more, oh man, that would be the death of me. I'm sure everyone's seen it. If you haven't, I don't know where you've been, but yeah, that Robbie Williams Ange song is getting too much now. So yeah, I mean, what happens when Maddison gets injured? He apparently was injured for the Fulham game. For the Bournemouth game and possibly this Fulham game. Lo Celso, is he good enough? Romero, terrible injury record. What happens when he gets injured? Who comes in? Dyer? Sanchez? Even Bissouma. If Bissouma gets injured now, he seems like such a key player. Can Skip do the same job as Bissouma? I think Bentancur can. And Bentancur and Bissouma look like they'll be a great partnership. But Romero and Maddison's worrying. Just centre-backs in general. If Romero or Van der Ven get injured, you got Dyer. Dyer's still sitting there. Sanchez still sitting there. And Lo Celso can't do Maddison's job. Maddison will get injured this season for a relatively long period of time. I'll say at some point, we're going to lose Maddison for like 5 games on the bounce. Same with Romero. Bad injury record. So Ange is going to have to adapt his tactics to that. He's going to have to adapt his tactics to teams that know how he's going to set up and know how he's going to play. Teams right now don't know how he's going to set up or how he's going to play really because it's his first shot of the Premier League, Ange. So long way to go. 35 games. But look, early signs are pretty good. But the glory days coming back, yeah, it's not. It's certainly not. Regardless, I'll tell you what, cup will be good. I'll be happy with top 6. I'll be more than happy with top six. I think Ange would have done a great job to get us top 6. And a Carabao Cup this time tomorrow. We're kicking off in the Carabao Cup, so we'll see. But if we get top 6 and even just a Carabao Cup, just any sort of trophy, because it's been 16 years, then I'm happy. I'm happy this season. I'm not happy overall for that to be Spurs' ambition. When we're paying the highest season ticket prices, when we've got the highest match day revenue, I'm not happy with 6th. We need to be up there. We need to be Champions League at least and winning trophies on the regular. But this season, the way it's going, 8th last season, I'm happy with 6th and a cup. That's for sure. Tomorrow's game is a big game. 16 years. I'll keep saying it. 16 years it will be if we don't win anything in 2024. 16 years since we last won a trophy. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. Yeah. Dexter. Not Spanish. Love the intro. You're not Spanish, but you love the Spanish, like the sort of Spanish vibes, Western vibes in the intro. So many YouTubers are jizzing in their pants about how we're doing in the first 3 games. Got to remember, it's Brentford, who are a good team. Good team. But if they get into the top 10, I think they sneaked in the top 10 last season. It's an unbelievably good season again for them. Bournemouth going down. I guarantee Bournemouth going down. Man United are okay. But Rashford, Garnacho, and Anthony, the success of this team and the problem with this team over the last few years has been the defence. So let's see how the defence performs against some proper attacks. Not really going to be tested tomorrow because Fulham sold Mitrovic. I didn't realise they got £50 million. Got 50 million for Mitrovic. Good player, but 50 million? Wow. And that brings me to the next point, because we're linked with someone, a forward, for 50 million pounds. We have been all this week. It seemed like it was Auburn all last week, Gift Orban. That sort of hit the pelters. We haven't heard about that a great deal. Apparently we're going to bid 50 million pounds for Brennan Johnson. What are people saying? Is this the man for you? Have you seen enough of him for him to warrant 50 million pounds? Firstly, this is question time, so I ask myself a lot of the questions to begin with and give my response. I ask my questions and give my own response, but that's the purpose of the banners here. So Brennan Johnson for 50 million pounds. Firstly, am I surprised to see Brennan Johnson linked with Spurs? No, I'm not. I'm really not surprised. It's sort of similar to Richarlison last season. In many ways, it is. Okay, Richie was more proven, for sure. Been in the Premier League for 4 years before he signed last summer. But the fee makes sense because Brennan Johnson is 4 years younger than Richarlison. Added to the English tax, you have to play. You have to pay for English players. And the fact that, Brennan Johnson, first season on the right wing, sometimes playing as a striker, scored 8 goals, got some assists. For a team that very nearly got relegated. It's a decent season. Good season for Brennan Johnson his first year. So 50 million makes sense. Whether I want Spurs to buy him or not is another matter. We're going to come on to that. But according to the Daily Telegraph, Brentford have made a bid for him. Brentford have come in with a £40 million bid for Brennan Johnson. I don't think he's going for £40 million. I really don't. Nottingham Forest selling their prized asset, and he is their prized asset. For £50 million, it's not a great deal of money. They spent 150 million pounds in their first summer, because you get like almost £200 just for getting into the Premier League. You get another £200 million for staying in the Premier League. So £50 million for their very, very wealthy owners to sell their prized asset. I just can't see it. Even if his head was turned, even if Brennan Johnson's head was turned and he had the opportunity to come to Tottenham, he certainly wouldn't be doing it if Brentford came with him. But maybe he'll throw his toys at the pram and say, I'm not going to train if you don't let me make my move to Spurs. That's the only way he will come this late in the window for me. 3 years left on his contract as well. If he had 12 months, it'd be a different kettle of fish. But, for 3 years left on his contract, there is no need for Nottingham Forest to sell. The only way he goes, as I said, is if he sticks up a fuss, him and his agent. I can't see Brennan Johnson going. We always talk about whether we should sign him or not, or whatever club, let's say a YouTuber supports and is YouTubing about that club. It's not just about whether the club want him or the club need him or the fans need him. It's will the parent club, the club we're looking at signing from, really want to sell him? Does it make sense for them to sell him? And it doesn't make any sense for Nottingham Forest to sell their prized asset. It really, really doesn't. If they was relegated, if they're in the Championship, it would. But the current state of affairs at that club, especially with 4 days left of the transfer window, I just don't see him going anywhere. I really don't see him going anywhere. We've got Kulu on the right. Brennan Johnson's best position, most prominent position, has been on the right. And Kulusevski was signed this summer on the right. We got Solomon, who's probably going to play on the right, even though the majority of his career he played on the left. We've already got Perisic and Son on the left. So we don't really need Brennan Johnson if he's going to be a wide player, which he predominantly was for Nottingham Forest. We need a forward to replace Kane. We need a forward to replace the 30 goals. Now, I'm not saying we're going to get 30 goals from anyone that comes in, but we need 15. We need 15 goals. And that is going to be my next segment. Will a Spurs player score 15 goals plus this season? Any of the current Spurs players? Just overall on this topic, Nottingham Forest don't need to sell. He's not going anywhere. We don't really need what he has to offer, Brennan Johnson. And the key thing, one of the key things is there's 4 days left of the transfer window. 4 days left. I don't see it. I don't see him going anywhere. I really, really don't. We've got 20 people watching. 20 minutes in, 20 people watching. Thank you ever so much for being here. We'll get at least an hour in today. We should have a cracking hour stream. Get in the chat. Tell me exactly what you're thinking on these solo streams. I'm always going through the chat, reading out everyone's messages. as I do, please make sure you smash that like. It really, really does make a difference. We've got 16 likes with 20 watching. That's fantastic. Really appreciate it. But if you haven't yet hit it, please do. And if you haven't subscribed and you're new to the channel, subscribe. It's free. Okay, let's get in the comments. Let's see what people are saying. Don't think it'll be £50 million. It'll probably be money plus players. That's a point. That's a point, Gary. And I tell you what, Nottingham Forest haven't signed too many players this summer. I mean, they signed practically a whole new squad last season, which tells you, which informs you that they're willing to spend money. They spent stupid money first summer, not so much now, which also tells you they don't really need money. So, I mean, who would they want? That's the who would they really want from the team? Are there any interest in our players? I would love them. I would love to. I'd love them to sign Dyer. I'd love them to sign Sanchez and Reggie. But is that realistic? Is it realistic for Nottingham Forest to go for them players? That would be. That's like that's perfect. If we could get someone like Brennan Johnson, even if it is Brennan Johnson, who I'm not a huge fan of, but even if we could get him and throw a few players their way, I'm down for that for sure. I just don't know who. Don't know who they would take. Sign Brennan Johnson, but he will play as a winger. Exactly. We've got Kulu there, Solomon there. It'd make the Solomon transfer a bit pointless. We've still got Gill. We don't know what's happening with Gill. He's coming back from a hip injury, but we don't know what's happening with him, and he's a natural left winger. Son on the left. I think Son's going to play on the left wing, if not Richarlison, because he played on the left wing in the majority of his career. And Perisic, who looks good at the start of this season. So I just don't see the need for a winger. It doesn't make a great deal of sense. But we need a central striker like Mehdi Taremi from Porto, or Orban, or David, or a young striker. Does anyone believe that we will sign a striker this late in the window? Any striker? And when I say striker, I mean someone that's going to get game time. This Veliz for Spurs, I'm not sure if he's going to get any game time. Maybe that's the guy. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the guy that we're going to go with. That's going to be the striker. If Son and Richarlison don't play, we're going to go with young Veliz. I don't think we're going to get one in. Definitely not Jonathan David. I'm convinced he is Arsenal bound. Arsenal or Chelsea bound. Arsenal and Chelsea would be foolish if they weren't to bring another striker in this summer. If either one of those don't bring a striker in, they could easily not make top four. And their ambition will definitely be top four and a trophy, especially Arsenal, having finished his runs up. Adi Wijaya, rebuy Marcus Edwards from Sporting. I've always been a big fan of Marcus Edwards. He's a cam though, isn't he? He's like a right winger or a cam. Still two positions we don't really need, although we do need a backup for Maddison. As I said at the start of the stream, he will get injured. For me, it's Lo Celso. Lo Celso is that backup, and I'll be very surprised if Lo Celso doesn't start tomorrow, especially as Maddison was 50-50 to be fit for the Bournemouth game. I think we'll still look at Lo Celso tomorrow. So I don't think a cam and a right winger, Addy, is something we're going to go for, especially in this window, the last 4 days of the window. Maybe in the next window, if we can move Lo Celso on. And Marcus Edwards ticks a lot of boxes because he's played with Porro on the right at Sporting. He's homegrown Tottenham born, knows the club. So in that regard, he ticks a lot of boxes. 15 goals. No, none of them. I don't think so. I know Maddison's got, the best chance we have is probably Maddison having a Dele Alli season where I think Dele Alli scored 14, 15 as a cam in his first full season. Maddison probably has got the best chance, in all honesty. This Maddison has become such a key player in such a really, really short space of time. And for me, that's good and bad. It shows how lacking creativity we were, just lacking in general. Because let's remember, his side got relegated after all. And leader, he's not really a leader, Maddison. For me, if you hear what Leicester fans said about him growing up, he can be a bit of a knob jockey, let's say, in the dressing room. Maddison, he's not a natural leader, but we've already made him our vice captain before he played a professional game for us, before he started a single game. So Maddison's like a key player for us, absolutely a key player. Kulu isn't performing, and we need someone to challenge the position. I think that's what Solomon's there for. Where do we think Solomon's going to play? Is he going to play on the left? So then where's Perisic going to play? Because I think Perisic is going to play on the left with Son. It's going to be Perisic, Son, or Richie on the left. Remember, you only get a 25-man squad. Magic Maddison, hi, how you doing? We've been talking about you. The only player I'm interested in that we've been linked with is Jota, because he's played for Ange before and got 22 goals and assists, contributions. He's fantastic. He's magnificent, Jota. And if we didn't sign Solomon, I don't think we should have signed Solomon, to be perfectly honest, just because he was available on a free. Apparently, because he was available on a free, it's good business. It don't make any difference to me. It's good business for Levy because there's no risk in terms of spending money. The amount of fellow YouTubers that have said, and just people on social media that said, it's a good signing because it's no risk. Well, it is a risk because we want to win games. I don't care if Solomon's a free. It's not my money. You know, ridiculous notion. It's a low risk. Who gives a shit? You know, Levy should be spending 20, 30, 40 million pounds on the wingers. So I would have taken Jota. He seems to have, he got signed in the Saudi Arabian League, didn't he? By a club, but now they don't want him. Almost straight away, they don't want him. They don't rate him. I think the manager that signed him doesn't rate him. So Jota is very, very skillful. He's both-footed as well. I was looking at Ange's lineups last season, and he plays on the left and plays on the right. He can back up both, but I feel with the Solomon signing and Perisic in the team, I don't think we're going to go down that avenue. I don't think we need to go down that avenue, quite frankly. We need a striker. The only player I'm interested in that we've been linked with is Jota. Oh, right, I've already read that. Of course I have. They wanted Ndombele, but he turned them down. They want Sanchez. Oh, not a Forest. They can have either one. But I'll tell you what, I'd rather Sanchez in the team than Dyer. That's for sure. Brennan Johnson had one brilliant season in the Championship with 18 goals and 10 assists. He's a player that Ange will want to bring to the next level. And a £50 million value is right for an English player who's that young, who looks like, he's a magnificent talent. You pay in English tax. And that English tax is only going to get higher and higher and higher. So £50 million is a fee. I don't think we need... he's not the striker I would be looking at. No way. He's not really a striker. He's a right winger that's played as a striker a few times. I heard Jota got bit, and to be fair, not just in the Championship, he had a good season last year. Magic. I do rate him. I think he's a good player. I heard Jota got bitten from the club in Saudi. Would love him to sign. I don't think he's been released yet because they signed him for like £25 million. But I think the manager has no intention to play him, or he hasn't made the cut, so he's not in their squad. I don't know how many players in Saudi Arabia you have with his 25-man squad or whatever, but I don't think the manager's putting him in, so he can't even play. So it could be a loan fee, it could be a loan move. They could, I don't know, they've got stupid money, haven't they, over there? They could just rip his contract up. It would cost a fortune to rip his contract up, having just signed him. That seems silly. So I'm guessing it'll be some sort of loan fee towards the end of the winter. I do think he's going to go somewhere. I do think he'll go somewhere. If we don't sign a centre-back and a striker, Ange is happy with it, then I have to question his sanity. I'm with you, Adrian. But if we don't sign a centre-back and striker, it doesn't mean that Ange has lost his sanity. It means that he hasn't been backed up by the owners once again, which I think is the correct call. I think there's no way you can tell me Conte wanted Ben Davies, Langley and Romero and Dyer as his free centre-backs. There's no way. That's what he was given. It wasn't very good. I was shocked that we were linked with Orban. He's playing at such a poor level up against a very poor with open defences. He's lost in the Premier League. It's very hard to see him adapt to the Premier League. He was only in Belgium for like a season as well. One good season with 17 goals. But who can we attract? Who really can Spurs attract? Finishing 8th. The whole club's a circus. We've started pretty well in the Premier League. That helps, I guess. But we're still a circus. I'll call him tossing. Adebayo, the Fulham centre, call him tossing. Is he still not gone? I thought he went Monaco. So he's still not gone, Adebayo. Fulham have got to get a move on because his contract runs out next season. So I'm sure, they'll either sell him or get him signed down to a new contract. Adebayo and Brennan Johnson and sell Højbjerg and buy a young midfielder. I wouldn't be totally against that. I'd rather have Brennan Johnson than no one. 100%, because he can still play up top. I'm not convinced he'd be a great striker, but I would be down for that. If we sold Adebayo, we would almost certainly have to sell a centre-back as well. So, Shukil, if we signed him, we sold Dyer, and we bring Brennan Johnson in, I'm not delighted, but I couldn't see it happen. I don't think we're going to sign a single player. Let me get that straight. I don't think we're going to sign one. That wouldn't be the worst in the world. It really wouldn't. I prefer players like Marcus Edwards-Jota and Kyogo for Ange's style of play. I do too. I like these attacking forward players, but at the end of the day, we still need someone that's going to score at least 15 goals. I'm not asking for 30 from Kane or the season that Son won Golden Boot. I think he scored 23. We don't need that, but we need someone that's going to score 14, 15. to break down the best defences. We've only come up against 3 teams, for fuck's sake. Bournemouth and Brentford are not great teams. Man United have got a slightly better defence, but they're still putting like Luke Shaw and Dalot in there, aren't they? It's not a great defence, it's a good defence. And that game could have gone either way, let's face it. I prefer players like, we already read that. Solomon is another Moura. I think you'd question if he's even as good as Moura. Moura came with great pedigree, Lucas Moura. Bigger pedigree than Solomon, that's for sure. Fulham rated Willian higher than Solomon. They tried to offer Willian a new contract. They didn't try and offer Solomon a contract. Leicester fans that talk shite about Maddison are talking bollocks, Tommy. Pay no mind. He's a natural leader and works very hard in the final third where he needs the ball. One of my first... I don't know, Magic Maddison, you're a Leicester fan. Or I don't know if you're a Leicester fan. No, you can't be a Leicester fan. But you've got a Leicester shirt as the avatar. Update it, brother. If you're a Spurs fan, update it. He's played 3 times for us now, Magic Maddison, if you're a Spurs fan. Get him in a Spurs shirt on your avatar. But if you are a Leicester fan, you probably know Let's Talk... We Are Leicester TV with Chris and Brad, and they were always talking shit about Maddison, which surprised me. But they really didn't like him. And there's another guy that used to come on as well, a third guy, Leicester fan, and he didn't like him either. I just really didn't like his attitude. So when I say that, I'm only going by what I hear from a Leicester fan. Is it We Are Leicester TV? I think it's We Are Leicester TV. They're good boys, they're good chaps, but they never really they don't like Maddison's attitude. But at the same time, they all agreed that he was a terrific player. There were times when Maddison was dropped because of his attitude. I know that as a Spurs fan. He was dropped for 5-6 games about 2 years ago because of his attitude. The only thing I don't like about Jota is his hairdo. But I tell you what, Maddison's fit in like a glove, and I love him. I think he's terrific. I would love to see him behind Kane. I know we're never going to see that now. We might see it for England. But I would have loved to see. I would have loved to see in a season with Maddison behind Kane. You can tell me what you want about Kane, but Kane plays in any 11. He really, really does. He wouldn't have to drop back where Maddison is creating because Maddison would be there. Kane would get 30 goals. I'm telling you now, Kane would get 30 goals. And system will know and system. He would. Maddison is the second best Cam with the last 5 seasons period. He's only 26 and has 82 goal and assist contributions. De Bruyne is 32 and has 103 goal and assist contributions, playing in a better team. And to be fair, Man City, he's more of a centre mid, isn't he? He's more of a centre mid in that Man City team. He picks the ball up deep a lot of the time, De Bruyne, and plays a lot of long balls. His long balls are fantastic. So I wouldn't have De Bruyne down as a Cam. He opens up in the third, in the last third, but I mean, Man City got Foden there, Bernardo Silva, Grealish as the Cams, I'd say. But De Bruyne is just a different pedigree. He's just and he plays in a better team, as you rightly say. Plays in a much better team, so naturally he'll get more. I wish we signed Kavica. I can't pronounce the Napoli winger, and play Son as a centre forward. But Napoli have just won a Scudetto. They're in the Champions League. We can't even offer a player Europe. So Napoli will. Napoli don't sell too many players, and you look at it, and you look at Napoli's contract wage bill. It's not great, but traditionally they don't sell players. Very good players until they're in their 30s. Who's the left winger? Who's the little left? Insigne. Insigne should have gone a long time ago to one of the bigger clubs. Koulibaly should have gone in his mid-20s, but he stayed longer, probably past it by the time he left. Mertens stayed far too long. Oshiman and Kvicha, let's call him Kvicha, should be going this summer. Definitely. Any of the top clubs will take him. But what they do is they give them a lot of... they do it in Italy in general, but especially Napoli. They give them a lot of image rights. They're really good at sponsoring their players with image rights. They make a lot of money that way. So, and the Napoli fans are mafia, basically. So, if you leave them and if you talk shite about Napoli, they will come after you. They really will. So not too many players leave Napoli. And I'll tell you now, him or Oshiman are not leaving Napoli for Spurs. As I said, we finished 8th. We can't offer much. But he is a wonderful player to watch as well, Amon. He really is. Eric Dyer to Fulham. Please. I'd happily do that. I'm surprised with how little Fulham have signed. We're going to talk about Fulham towards the end of the stream, as I said earlier. I'm surprised that, they haven't gone bigger. Raul Jimenez to replace Mitrovic. That's it. Raul Jimenez, 32, 33 from Wolves. He's never the same since he smashed his skull. If that's their signing this season, Fulham are going to struggle. stay in the league, as far as I'm concerned. I know they got a good draw against Arsenal, but they also lost 3-0 to Brentford the week before. We're favourites. We have to beat Fulham tomorrow, as far as I'm concerned. So they can have him. I'll tell you what, if Fulham get Eric Dyer, they're getting relegated. If they get Eric Dyer and they don't get another replacement for Mitrovic, they are getting relegated. I was wondering if Ange is playing Richie, not for scoring goal, but for diverting enemy defences, so the two wingers can go inside with about two centre-backs in fear in the wing. That could happen. That could happen. It's a false nine, isn't it? That's the false nine system. Who, funnily enough, the Napoli manager, he's not Napoli manager anymore, the one that won Scudetto last season. What's his name? I'll keep Spalletti. He actually brought the number 9, the false 9 position into the game with Roma. Funnily enough. And so you could do it. Yeah, that's a false 9. That's the description of a false 9. And Ange's system almost, you could play that way. And Auburn could do the same thing. Auburn can play that way. I'm traditional. I like my strikers to be big. I like strikers to be strikers, to run in the box, get on the end of headers, be good aerially. That's why I'm not so big on Orban. And that's why I don't think Richarlison is good enough to get the 15 goals a season we need. Maddison is one of the best cams in Europe, and that's a fact. The stats prove him as one of the most productive cams of the last 5 seasons since he joined Leicester. He's ahead of Bruno Fernandes. I think stats are one thing, but I don't think you just need stats to see that Maddison's a great player. If I see great stats, it's not enough. I have to see the player. Stats should always be used to validate. But I've seen enough of Maddison to know that, yeah, he is definitely one of the best cams in Europe. And the stats do validate it. His goal contributions over the last few seasons are fantastic. And he's already started that with Spurs. Those Tottenham have one of the most creative midfielders in the Premier League now, which is why we can get goals elsewhere. Basuma, Sarr, Maddison are brilliant. And Bendika is still to come. I agree. But you still need someone to score 10 goals, 15 goals. At least 10. We're going to talk about that in a bit more depth. Ange ain't been back. This is just a typical window. It is a typical window. It's even worse than some windows, to be honest with you. There's a black kid playing in the Danish league, and he's got brilliant feet. Very like Jota, and the kind of player that Ange would love. Is he a Danish boy? Not is he a Danish boy. Does he play for the Nordsjælland team? They get a lot of youngsters through there. They've got Schledrup through there. Is it Schledrup? I know they bring a lot of young players through. It might be, I think I've heard of the guy. I would take a punt on Orban. He's the only realistic one, Gary, as far as I'm concerned. The better we perform, the less Lever will invest. This is it. This is the problem. This is so hard for me to get my head around as a fan. I'm not wishing my team to lose. Never will wish my team to lose. But I know good can come from it. If we lost the first 3 games of this season, let's say, or even lost 2 of the first 3 games this season, I think Levy would be doing more in the transfer window over the next 4 days. That's where our owner is. Our owner is very, very impulsive. He'll only do things if he has to. And Spurs fans, we're in that mindset. If you've supported Spurs for long enough with this owner, you almost have to do bad to get good players. What I am happy with is we're scoring goals, we're winning games, and 7 points from 9. And our strikers aren't scoring. We're not getting the goals from Richarlison. 1 goal in 30 games. Look at this. I've got a few visuals today. I promise they'll be a lot smoother than that from here on in. But Harry Kane, Richarlison, DeAndre. Last season, 30 goals. Last season for Richie, 27 appearances, 1 goal. He still started at least 10 of those games, just not good enough. It's nowhere near good enough, and 3 assists in those games as well. 3 games this season, Richie, he hasn't scored. That is a good thing, in a way, because it means that Levy might finally have an intention to sign a striker, which is obvious. It should be obvious. If you sell Kane, you need a striker. So we almost have to wish for bad things for good things to happen. It's crazy. It's crazy. Right. Before we get onto the next topic, which is sort of the topic we've just had. What did I put up? Did I put up with a Spurs player? Probably. This was my next topic anyway. This is question time, so I ask the questions to the people in the chat. I've sort of already gone through this, but hey. Let's have a look. There's always more to talk about. I would take a punt on Orban, Gary O'Neill, the better perform. Yes, I'm with you there. Brendan Johnson is a midfield winger, not a striker, and he's very young. He's got 18 goals and assists in the Championship. Just a few seasons ago, he got 8 Premier League goals and 3 assists last season. So 11 goal contributions is pretty good for a team that nearly relegated. But it's not for we need striker. As you rightly say, you need out and out striker for me. When we came 8th, we needed a few statement signings. These ain't them. We really did. We really did. Magic Maddison. Are you James Maddison in disguise? Magic Maddison's a Spurs fan. I'm sure he's a Spurs fan. But I don't know what you're doing with that avatar. Orban, for me to replace Kane, would be an insult. He played against West Ham and got smothered. Oh, did Orban play against West Ham? Was that last season? Europa League or something? Or Conference League? Orban was useless against West Ham when he played for Ghent in Europe last season. Okay. That's only one game. But I'm with you in terms of it's a big punt. It is a punt, Orban. It's a little bit like a Vincent Janssen type punt, although you can say Eredivisie is a stronger lead than Belgium. He's got 17 goals in Belgium last season. I think he's got 2 in his first 3 games this season. But it's Belgium. Belgium Pro League. It's okay. But, that's the situation we're in. I keep coming back to it. We can't really attract better players. So Orban's probably the best we can get. Yes, I am James Maddison disguised as James Maddison, Dexter Mornstar. You're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to do that without making sure you put parody in your name on X, Twitter, X. That place falling apart. I actually like him. I like Elon Musk, but Twitter's just proper cesspit now since he's been in charge. Any Leicester fan worth his salt will tell that the truth, and that is that James Maddison was head and shoulders above the rest of the players. He controlled games and led by example. I mean, all the ones I talked to said he was fantastic, but this was before they sold him. I haven't talked to these guys for a year. So this was before they sold him. This is not hindsight after he was sold. I'm only going by what he said, what they said. And I tell you what, these Leicester fans, they get all the ex-legends on. Chris from Let's Talk Leicester. I can't remember if it's We Are Leicester TV or Let's Talk Leicester. Jerry Taggart does his intro. He gets you got Alan Smith on, ex-Leicester and Arsenal. Everyone knows Alan Smith. Loads of ex-Leicester players. And I think he got, who's the Turkish boy? Muzzy, is it? You got him on before. Hi, Arsenal fan here, Anthony. All welcome, even Gooners. I've got to say, Tottenham are more creative up front by keeping possession more than you had Kane. But I do think you need a striker still. Yes, we're gonna meet you. Is it September? When are we playing Arsenal? Let's have a look. When we playing Arsenal. While I have a look, I'm sure somebody will probably tell me in the chat anyway. Please make sure you smash a like. I know there's a lot of people streaming at this time. I really thank you for watching this show when there's so much happening. But please hit that like if you haven't. We're on 28 likes. Fantastic. Really, really appreciate it. Spurs fixtures. Yeah, we've got Burnley. We've got Burnley on Saturday, haven't we? After Fulham tomorrow. Then Sheffield United. We've got a very easy first 5 games. We have been given a good run, haven't we? Brentford, Man United, of course, are very tricky. It's a good victory. It's a very good victory. But Burnley, Sheffield United, you can't ask for a better run of fixtures to start with. Ange couldn't. And then we've got Arsenal. So it's 24th of September. After that, we've got Liverpool a week later. So, that's when it gets interesting. That's when we can really start assessing what Ange is doing. I don't think we can start assessing until October, mid-October, to be perfectly honest. Can't get carried away with 2 wins and 2 clean sheets. You can. Everyone can. It's up to them. It's your prerogative. But I'm not. I'm not getting excited. I remember Nuno won his first 3 games and got sacked 10 games later. And one of those games we beat Man City. So big up everyone. Coys. Gio Raya. How you doing? I haven't seen you before, Gio Raya, I don't think. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't. Make sure you hit the notification bell. That goes for everyone in the chat. Almost 45 minutes in. It's flown by. It's weird that we can get to 45 minutes so quickly on these solo streams. But as I said, I'll try and interact with the chat best I can. Our front 3 don't fit our system. But Kulu did score against Bournemouth. But it will take time for the players to get used to one another in this system. If I was a manager, I'd tell Richarlison to laugh and smile more. He's way too serious. And it's affecting his game. He needs to learn to relax in front of goal. Yeah, he's very snatchy, isn't he? But so is Son. Son and Richarlison on the left scored the majority of their goals on the left. So yeah. They score the majority of the goals on the left. Just because Son scored 23 goals on the left, doesn't mean he's going to score 30 goals as a number 9. Some players need to be on the ball more. Richarlison and Son need the ball, constantly need the ball to be comfortable in finishing positions for me, coming off the left inside. That's where they score the most goals. That's why they're not number 9s for me. That's why we need a number 9 to replace Kane. We've got the creativity and we've got goals from Maddison, but we still need someone in there to finish them off. Son and Kulu will get a fair share, but not enough for me. Not if you want to get into the top 6. Not if you want to win a trophy this season. I love that Spurs ski hat. It's wonderful. I'd love to get one. Yeah, it was only like, I don't like spending money on Spurs stuff from the Spurs shop. Not because I think it's going to make any difference, to be honest with you. I look at it and I think Daniel Levy. I look at him and I think that's going straight in his wallet. So, but this was like last season, so it's like £7-8, and I was like, I have to get it. And it's New Balance as well. They're not messing about. It's not fake. So I think the likes of Solomon, Jota, Hazard type player is exactly what we need. Son and Kulusevski are not what we need. I think they're holding back Richarlison. So you don't think coming inside is what we need with Postecoglou? If you think about it, it's true, because the fullbacks traditionally under Ange are inverted. So if the fullbacks are inverted, then you want the wingers to go on the outside, and Son and Kulu like coming inside. But I think Ange will adapt his tactics. Everything he's done at Celtic, he will have to do things differently, because this is not the SPL. Funny enough, the Saudi League's called the SPL as well, which is really confusing. But SPL in terms of Scotland, I think he's going to. So Jota was in the SPL, and now he's still in the SPL. Crazy. Can't they change it? But yeah, it's Solomon. Solomon is that type of player, because Solomon's on the left. He's an out and out outside winger. Gill actually suits it. If Gill came good, Gill's a left winger, like Aaron Lennon on the right, will go on the outside. Makes sense with inverted fullbacks. But I don't think our fullbacks just have to be inverted. I think they can go on the outside, and we can combine on both sides, overlapping. The wingers can come inside, outside. The fullbacks can come inside, outside. I think that's what we'll be hoping for. So I think they can play in a system, but we'll see. It's 2 games, 3 games. We'll see. We'll see. That's where That's where Ange's job will be won and lost. If it works, he'll keep his job for a long time, perhaps. If not, it could be a nightmare. So many YouTubers beg for likes. I want to say, I won't say who, or we all know who, but Hotspur Hood, humble thumbs up from me. I don't keep asking for likes, to be honest with you. I really don't. But it really does make a difference. It really does make a difference. And I've got other people hosting on the show, and I just want to interact with people. It's as simple as that. The more people, the more you like, the more it gets a little bit recognised. This channel's never going to be massive, but it gets a little bit more recognised. You can get more people in the chat. Chatters can interact with each other, and yeah, it slightly improves the algorithms. So every like, every sub does make a difference for that. And that's, I just want to interact. I want to interact. Well, I started it through COVID. I just wanted to interact. I had nobody to talk to about Spurs. When it comes to Richie, I believe he's putting too much pressure on himself to score a goal. Yeah, I'm down. A lot of people are saying that. Snatching at finishes. Lots of pros and cons to that, but it also brings room for error. I'm confident the goals will come. And when they come, it could be like London buses. When he scores 1 or 2, he could go on a run. But I still don't see him as a natural number 9. I really don't. I really don't see him as a natural number 9. I know he plays there for Brazil and scores against Ecuador and Paraguay, but this is the Premier League. These are the best of the best. And he can't play on the left. Richarlison cannot play on the left for Brazil. He has no option. They've got Vinicius Jr. there. The position Richarlison, no matter what anybody tells you, look back at his Everton career. It was always on the left wing. Ancelotti played Calvert-Lewin up top with Richarlison on the left. But Richarlison's pretty much always played on the left, other than the 6 months Calvert-Lewin was injured. That's it. The season before we signed him. We don't have an actual number 9. Son could adapt to a number 9. I still don't think he'll adapt. If I'm honest with you, I still think the left wing is his best position. We don't have a natural striker. We really don't. We don't have a natural, unless you count this Veliz. And Ange wants tricky, multi-dimensional players who can get around outside and cut in on the inside. And that's what Jota, Solomon and Kyago could do. I'm not sure Solomon could. For me, he looks like a byline strike. Someone that wants to hit that byline. He can come inside too. We saw it in pre-season, but that was against Lion City Sailors and the likes. So it could be that. Jota definitely is, because he's both-footed. And Jota comes inside, outside. I saw it for Celtic, and he definitely is. So that's probably why he done so well under Ange. But then it's the SPL, the Scottish Premier League. A lot of players would look great in the Scottish Premier League. Dyer would probably look like Beckenbauer in the Scottish Premier League. That's going a little bit too far. I'm down on my hands and knees now with my pants down around my ankles, begging for likes for Tommy. Appreciate it, Magic. Magic Maddison. Eminem. Kulu needs to be benched. His pass percentage is only higher than Richie and Vicario in the team. Is that a problem? Passing percentage? Is that how we're going to assess a player? If his passing percentage isn't good, then we're going to drop him. I think the eye test in general, Kulu's not doing that well. I don't think percentage alone, in terms of percentage stats, are going to be the be all and end all when it comes to whether somebody should get dropped, in my eyes. I mean, if Kulu's putting more balls into the box, then the chances are his percentage is going to go down. So how many balls is he putting into the box for that percentage is a key stat that needs to be asked. Richarlison has to think about taking a shot. The great Romero, the goal poacher for Brazil and PSV, didn't have to think. Romero, he worked on instinct, a true goal poacher, yeah. And it could, do you know what? Richarlison could, if he scores one, it could be 2, 3, 4. Son's like that. Son goes on runs. He really does. When Son came on last season, he wasn't scoring at all. He came on, funny enough, against Leicester. Big up David from Leicester. He scored that hat-trick. I thought, well, this is it. He's going to start next game. He's going to go on a run. It never worked out. But Son is that sort of player. Scores one, can go on a run. Richarlison might be the same. But one goal in 30 games. 50, 60 million pounds. Is he worth it? You tell me. Fans said Richie could play all along the front. Shame he's shite in two of them positions, poor in his natural position. He never played on the right. Never, ever played on the right. Maybe once for Everton. And I don't think he's ever played there for Brazil. So he naturally played on the left with Calvert-Lewin as a striker for Ancelotti and Lampard. Quite frankly, until Calvert-Lewin was injured. So he could never play on the right, Daryl. I don't know who said that, and people did say that. I know they said that, but they were wrong. Just downright wrong. No, Solomon is brilliant at cutting in on both sides, getting around the back and turning defenders. He was brilliant for Fulham. But he only started like 4 games for Fulham. Magic. 4 or 5 games. 5 games max. You know, he came on as a sub, and he was injured for the first part of the season. But we're talking about 4 or 5 games. He started. It's a very small amount of games to judge a player on, in my eyes. Maybe it's enough for some people, because I didn't see enough of Solomon. Maybe you saw enough in his sub appearances as well. But I didn't see enough of him to assess him and say he's going to be this, he's going to be good at this or good at that. Son and Kulu only congest the central forward area by cutting inside. Yeah, I mean, they'll probably never go on the outside. Son and Kulu they will never adapt to that. Now, Tommy, David Clark will tell you the truth about Maddison and all the lies that have been spoken about him. David knows his stuff. You know, David spent a lot of time on the show in the chat, and there were quite a few people going in for Maddison. I was one of them, but David, coming from Leicester, knows what he's all about, and here he is. The majority of Richarlison's goals come from the left at Everton. Yeah, he scored 13 goals in 2 seasons, and they were both on the left. And Son, a long-term number 9 at our club, is ridiculous. If we are seriously winning trophies and getting good back in the top 4, not a chance in hell. We need a goal-scoring striker. We won't score enough. 100%. 100 million %. And that brings me to this that I've already touched on. Will a Spurs player score 15 goals this season? Right. First of all, I just want to say why 15 goals is a constant number from me. It's a nice round number because it's half as much as what Kane got. This is a different system. We don't need 30 goals from Kane, possibly under Ange. I don't think we do. Maybe not 20. But we still need someone who will get 15 goals. I don't see anyone in the squad that can get that amount. Just don't see Richie and Son as the number 9s getting that amount. Maddison has the creation to release a great number 9. We've seen that in 3 games. He has the creation. But we need a striker in there. We really do. Whether it's Orban, we've been linked with a lot. Let's face it. Lukaku, he's not coming. We're never going to get a player from Chelsea. Vlahovic would be fantastic. There's been a whole plethora, and there's still a lot of these players haven't gone anywhere. There's small chances that we'll get a striker in. I just don't think we will. But I'd take Orban 100%. I'd take Brennan Johnson, even though I don't think he's a striker. He might adapt to be a striker later on in his career. I haven't seen him play as a striker at Nottingham Forest. I know he has a few times, but 8 goals, £50 million. I'd rather it be spent elsewhere, if I'm perfectly honest, in terms of a number 9. But I don't think we're getting anyone. It's pointless talking about Orban or Brennan Johnson. I don't think we're going to get either. As I said at the start of the stream, Brennan Johnson, why would Nottingham Forest sell? He's got 3 years left on his contract. They've got plenty of money, Nottingham Forest. They are not a poor club. Just doesn't make much sense. Vlahovic. Tony would have been a good option. I think Brentford might be looking to sell Tony because he's only got 2 years left next summer. I think by next summer, Tony will certainly be sold. They're looking at Brennan Johnson as well. So, apparently they bid to the Telegraph reported, as I said earlier, that Brentford bid £40 million for Johnson. So I think they're always very proactive. Brentford, very proactive. They have a player ready before they sell. So they've done the same with Raya this summer. They had a goalkeeper in there ready for when Raya went. Raya went, and they've got this keeper now. So maybe Brennan Johnson is going to take over from Tony. Maybe that's their plan. But I still don't think Nottingham Forest are going to sell. Again, I keep going back to what I said earlier. The only way Brennan Johnson goes with 3 years left in his contract is if he really throws his toys at the pram. Really throws his toys at the pram. Say, I'm not training. I don't want to be here. His agent gets involved as well. I want to go to Spurs. That's the only way. And call me traditional, but Orban's 5'0". I want a big striker, especially with Maddison. I keep coming back to Maddison, but his delivery, magnificent from corners, from free kicks in open play. I want a big striker to get on the end. I really, really do. I like that. Not Orban's definitely not going to offer that. But who knows? Right, I said that I was going to put a couple of funky visuals out here, but I've already showed this. 1 goal for Richarlison last season, 1 goal overall in the league. I think he scored 1 other in the Premier League, hasn't he? I think he scored 1 other in the Premier League, in a League Cup or something last season. Richarlison, he hasn't got many goals for Spurs. I saw this as a tweet earlier, and this tickled me. So this is Spurs' new signing after selling Kane for £100 million. It's funny. I'm laughing, but there's truth behind the laughter. Another skyscraper, art gallery, Formula One track. That's our replacement for Harry Kane. And I think that will be our replacement for Harry Kane, quite frankly. I don't think we're getting a striker in. I really don't. I really, really don't. I'm going to talk about last penultimate question on question time. But before I do, let's get in the comments. Maddison would be our top scorer with 3 kicks. I only see 2 players getting over 10. He scored 5 goals in 5. The majority of Richarlison. Right, here we are. He scored 5 goals in 5 games. He's a brilliant, tricky player for me, and he showed how good he is in pre-season. He's a defender's worst nightmare. He's got pace, but it's still too early for me. I only see 2 players getting over 10. Maddison will be our top scorer with 3 kicks and penalties. He may get between 10 and 14, but that's not enough for us to be successful. That's why Ange is baffling me. Is he baffling you, David? Or is it up to him? Do you really think Ange is saying, I don't need a striker? I don't think Conte was saying, I don't need centre-backs. And I don't think Ange is saying he doesn't need a striker. I think Ange would want a striker. I think Conte wanted centre-backs. I think it's obvious that they did. I just don't think Levy will supply him with that. It doesn't supply the managers with what they need. He supplies the managers with the best investments possible. We have Yaya Santiago, why by Johnson? Santiago's like a centre mid, isn't he? I seen him play for the under 18s or under 19s live at Hotspur Way. He was a centre mid, but that was about 2-3 years ago. Has he changed to a winger now or a striker? I'd prefer Kyogo and Jota before the window closes, as it's way too early to get down on Richarlison. We need plenty of options from the bench. Richarlison will come good. You think Richarlison will come good? Fair enough. I'm not going into Richarlison. Some people really, really hate him. I like Richarlison, but we still need a number 9. Tony will be an Arsenal player in January. You think? You think? I still don't think he'll be able to play, but I think they're looking to sell Brentford. I think with the Brennan Johnson rumours at Brentford, and they're rumoured of other strikers before this window closes. I think the plan is to sell Tony next summer. He'll only have a year left on his contract. They're very smart Brentford. Just imagine that backline and midfield with Jota, Solomon, Kyogo, Kulu, Son, and Perisic as our winger options on the bench. That's a lot of play. You only got a 25-man squad, Magic. You can only have like two players for each position. You just don't have the squad. But I see what you're saying. It would be great to have those options. But really, you can only back up one for each position. Right. I've just heard that Forest have just rejected a Spurs bid for Johnson of 43 million plus add-ons. Hopefully, the add-ons are players. We need the add-ons to be players, not just money. But again, I'm not surprised about the £50 million fee. A lot of people are surprised that you'd have to pay £50 million for Brennan Johnson. It's not surprising. He's 22, I think. Had a good first season at Nottingham Forest. Had a couple of good seasons in the Championship as well. He's English. 3 years left on his contract. £50 million a normal fee for him. It just is. If Ben White's £50 million, then Brennan Johnson's definitely £50 million. Yeah, and I heard from the Telegraph, it was reported on the Telegraph just before I started, that Brentford bid £40 million. So that maybe now there's a little bit of an auction. I want to see Veliz get a few games and Jota, Solomon and Kyogo to be those tricky little winger strikers that give defenders a nightmare. I think Veliz will be, we talk about 25-man squad. I think Veliz will be part of the 25-man squad. He won't be if we sign a striker, but I don't think we're going to sign a striker. So Veliz will get some game time this season. Jeepers Creepers, Daniel Levy is building a city within a city. Didn't Son win the Golden Boot? He did 2 years ago as a left winger. 2-3 years ago as a left winger coming inside with Kane as a striker who have an unbelievable communication there. And I think Son will score goals on the left. And 2 years, in that 2 years, he seems to have lost a lot of pace. I don't think this Son is the same as a Son 2 years ago. I really don't. It showed last season. He wasn't good last season, was he? He came back towards the end of the season, but I think Son's past his peak, put it that way. Ange was clearly brought in to improve average players and accept lower grade signings as his new addition. That's the way Levy rolls after all. Nothing has changed at Spurs. I think as much as I like Ange, I think he's come in because it's a much better job. It's a real challenge in the Premier League. You're going to double your wages at least. He would have doubled his wages, Ange. He would be playing in the best league in the world. And before that, he hasn't been. He never has done, even close. I mean, SPL, the Scottish League, is not in the top 8 leagues. So you cannot refuse that. So he can play a part. Ange, I wouldn't blame him. I wouldn't blame him if he was a puppet. Many great managers before him have been a puppet at Spurs. He's taking the job for the money alone. We forget about this. If you had a job, you're on $2,000, $3,000 a month, and somebody offers you $6,000 a month, and the company's better, the company's bigger, what are you going to do? You're taking it. You have to take it, especially at his age. He's 57 years old. He's been managing South Korea, Australia, the Australian national team job, and Celtic, where the players are nothing over there compared to the Premier League. He's taking a job simply for the money, and I don't blame Ange for that. And he could still be a very good manager. So he would be hoping that he'd get big money, Ange. He'd be hoping that. But I don't see it, and I think Levy thinks he can get away with it because of all the reasons I've stated. He can get away with it by not supporting Ange because he's coming from Celtic. I think Levy is thinking, list a fortune on Ndombele, so I'm not selling Richie and losing another fortune. I keep forgetting about these players. I keep forgetting about Ndombele being there. Sessegnon I completely forgot about last week. In a guest show, I was talking about some of the players that the deadwood that we need to get rid of. There's still 10, 11. Sessegnon, he was still with us last season. He got injured. What's he going to do? He can play in the left wing. Sign as a left winger. Spurs are looking at a young Georgian striker from Metz, apparently. We've got a good history from Metz, haven't we? Because Saar was signed from Metz. Looks pretty good. Looks very good, in fact, the last 2 games. Isn't Jonathan Johnson Welsh? Oh, yeah, he's Welsh, but he counts homegrown. When I say the English tax, British tax, let's say, he counts as homegrown. So, you can be Brazilian. And if you're from this country, you're going to cost more money. If you've trained in England between 18 and 21, you count as homegrown. And that matters. Really matters for Spurs right now. We're struggling with homegrown players, especially now Winks has gone, especially now Kane has gone. We have to keep Tanganga. Unless we sign another homegrown player, we have to keep Tanganga. Have to. So that's where we are. But Brennan Johnson ticks a box for that. Johnson came off at the weekend with what could be a serious hamstring injury. Did it? I knew he come off with an injury. I didn't realise it was his hamstring. That's not good. Depends if it's a hamstring tear. If it's a hamstring tear, 6 weeks, 7 weeks. He might even fail to medical if it's a hamstring tear. But if it's just a hamstring, it's usually 2 weeks, isn't it? It's weird how quickly players recover from hamstring injuries now. It used to be like 2-3 weeks minimum. Now, some do recover in a few days or a week. I'd rather have Peter Crouch at 42 over Richarlison. Yeah, he's divisive. He's very divisive. That's Son of 2 years ago. I think a lot of top players, they lose their best very quickly, and that could be the same with Son, although he looks happier at the moment, but he has to assist and score. I agree. I love Son. Incredible player. But he's past his prime. He really is past his prime. And I don't think he'll get those 15 goals. I really don't. Okay, finally, Fulham versus Spurs. Who starts? Right. So this was the team. This is the team he put out. And it's an interesting one because depth is going to matter this season. Every team relies on depth. And if you haven't followed Leicester, and the people that do follow Leicester know that Maddison has always had injury problems. Romero, for us, over the last 2 years, had bad injury problems. We've got to see how the depth works. And tomorrow, I feel like we are going to see some of the depth come into the team. So who do we think? Get in the comments. Tell me what changes you expect to see. This time tomorrow, we would have kicked off in the Fulham game. Also, this time tomorrow, I won't be streaming. Usually streaming the N17 Effect at 8 o'clock. But because of the game, we're streaming after 10 p.m. We'll be joined by guests. So make sure you join us for that. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so you can join us for that. So yeah, so this was on the weekend. I've got a rolling banner in the way of the keeper, but we all know that was Vicario. Romero van der Ven at centre-back. Lovely clean sheet once again for those two. Against Bournemouth, Porro right back, Udogie left back. So the back five, keepers always involved in the defence, all kept a clean sheet again. Fantastic. Sarr and Basuma just in front. Maddison as Cam, Kulusevski right, Son left, Richarlison up top. Talking of Fulham specifically, they've got the first 3 games of the season. They've got 4 points from nine. So 1-1, drawn 1 and lost 1. Beat Everton 1-0, which isn't tricky, even away from home. They're absolutely hopeless, Everton. They're not going to have another season, Everton, where they in and around the relegation zone and don't get relegated. If they don't sign some serious players in the last few days, Everton are getting relegated this season. They got smashed by Brentford, 3-0, Fulham. And then they got a really good point away to Arsenal on the weekend, we all know. But the fact that they lost 3-0 to Brentford and haven't replaced Mitrovic, I'll get back to that in a second. I'll put that lineup back up in a second to discuss what I think will happen tomorrow night. But just on Fulham themselves, yeah. Raul Jimenez, it's 32, 33 with the skull issue he got at Wolves. Him as the replacement for Mitrovic is not enough. And I'm not afraid of their attack. I wasn't afraid of Man United's attack, Anthony and Garnacho. Certainly wasn't afraid of Bournemouth's with Solanke. Wasn't afraid of Brentford's without Tony. Just had Visa. You haven't come up against a good attack, and tomorrow we won't be coming up against a good attack again, I don't think. So that's good. That serves us well. Paulinho is a menace in centre midfield. Not because he scored against Arsenal. He scored an equaliser against Arsenal. He doesn't score goals. He is a nasty fucker. He will get into your players. He really, really will. He's a nasty boy. I think he easily got the most tackles last season in the Premier League. So he gets his foot in. So it's going to be a difficult job for our centre mids, especially if Basuma and Sarr start, because it's only 2 days ago, 2 or 3 days ago they played, and they're not used to playing week in, week out. Not for the last 6 months anyway, Basuma and Sarr. Not used to playing week in, week out in the Premier League. Paulinho is. So if Paulinho starts, it's going to be very difficult. It's going to be tough in centre midfield. Looking at Fulham signings, they've signed Raul Jimenez, Adama Traore, Calvin Bassey, who's a good player. I think he got sent off, so I think he's banned. Tosin looks like he's going, so we should be comfortable. They're missing a lot of players. They haven't signed a lot of players. Here's the lineup again, who we put out. I'll discuss what I think is going to happen. I think Skip will definitely come in for either Basuma or Sarr. Emerson at right back will come in for Porro. Solomon Solomon for Kulu, I think. I want to see Solomon for Kulu as well. We've got to see Solomon from the start. Perisic for Son, maybe. Sanchez, maybe. And Forster, I think will play. Will Sanchez come in for Romero or Van der Ven? You do need to rest Romero from time to time. Picks up a lot of injuries. But because we've kept 2 clean sheets in 2 games, I think Ange will stick. He will stick with the back 5 other than Porro and Vicario. So Forster will come in and Emerson will come in. I think he will stick with Udogie even. I'm not sure though. It could be Ben Davies, but Ben Davies could equally get in there. It's going to be very, very interesting to see tomorrow's starting lineup. It really, really will. We've got to take the League Cup seriously. If we go out in the League Cup, we're only in one more trophy. That's it. Unless you believe there's a chance we'll win the FA Cup. Because obviously we're not playing Europe this season. The only trophy we'll be left in if we lose to Fulham tomorrow is the FA Cup, which doesn't get going until January. And that'll be very, very depressing. So it's a huge game tomorrow. And Maddison's the big one. Because we are relying on Maddison already. It's crazy how quickly we're relying on him, but we are. If he was going to struggle to make it on Saturday, I thought we'd leave him out. It's because we didn't run the show. I would rest Maddison here, put Lo Celso in. Lo Celso looked pretty good in pre-season. We cannot risk getting Maddison injured. We just cannot. I don't see how we do things without Maddison in this team. I really, really don't. So I would be resting him. Of course, that's a big risk in terms of getting to the next round in the Carabao Cup. But I'd keep Maddison on the bench. And this is what I think will happen in the game. I think we'll struggle in the first half if Maddison doesn't play. Then we can bring Maddison on in the second half. We can bring some of the other players on. That, let's say we bench Son and start Solomon, or we bench Kulusevski and start Solomon, and Solomon doesn't do very well. We can bring some of the big boys on in the second half. So I think that's how it will go. We'll play quite a lot of our second string. If we struggle, we'll bring on some of the first teamers at the end of the game. And I think we'll win by a goal. It could even go penalties. This could definitely be penalties. I think we'll sneak through. I do. I think we'll sneak through. Ange is not afraid to make changes. Even from weekend to weekend at Celtic, he made a lot of changes. A hell of a lot of changes. He dropped Jota a lot of the time. Celtic winger, he dropped Jota a lot. Not afraid to drop players, especially to freshen things up. So, but I think he'll stick with Van der Ven and Romero. 2 clean sheets on the bounce. I think it might be good to get them we need a real partnership back there. But he likes Sanchez. It seems like he likes Sanchez, and so it wouldn't be completely surprising. So I'm going to put this back up, but I'll go through some of the people's comments in terms of the starting lineup. Or let's have a look. Kevin Stanbridge, do you think they will hurry Phillips into the squad and let Dyer Sanchez and Tanganga go? No, it's too late. I hope so. We can't let Tanganga go because of the homegrown rule. So I don't think Tanganga's going regardless. Dyer and Sanchez can because they're not homegrown. But I don't think Phillips. No, he's only played 7 games for Blackburn. Phillips, he wasn't even in Blackburn's first team in the Championship, mid-table Championship side. So Phillips is a season or 2 seasons off easily. So I don't see that happening. Gio, Solomon, I hope Dyer or Sanchez go and we get another centre back in. I really do. Gio, Solomon, Perisic, and Royal to start. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. I can definitely see that. They're the ones I think will come in. But I think Basuma or Sarr will get rested. I can see Skip coming in for Sarr, definitely. You could even see Hotspur coming in. Could see 2 different centre. The 3 in midfield, the 2 centre mids and the cam could be completely different. It could be Lo Celso, Hojbjerg, and Skip. You really could. Yeah, I wonder what team Levy's going to pick. What team Levy's going to pick. Lo Celso at the start of Maddison, Perisic for Son, Emerson for Porro. Yeah, Emerson's definitely 100% coming in. Maybe Forster. Yeah, I think so. I think Forster will come in. But, I contradict myself. Maybe Ange will want to stick with the back 5, with the keeper that are keeping clean sheets. But I tell you what, Forster's on 70 grand a year, 70 grand a week. Some big money. Should be playing these kind of games. Gary, Emerson, Lo Celso, Skip, maybe Perisic or Solomon, maybe both. Underestimate Fulham out of peril. Fulham are a very dangerous side. If Ange makes more than 3 changes, then it will be hard to win this game. That's the problem. But do we risk it? Ange can't afford to lose, so I reckon he'll put a strong team out. Forster, Royal, Sanchez, VDV, Davis, Højbjerg, Skip, Lo Celso. So you think he's going to change all the three? Like I said, Solomon, Richarlison, Son. That's a lot of changes. That's a lot of changes. So by going by your prediction, David, in terms of how many changes we're going to make, and your prediction of if we make more than 3 changes, we're going to struggle, then I'm guessing your prediction would be that we'd lose if we made that many changes. And that would be fair enough. The centre midfield battle will be where it's won or lost with Palhinha in there. He is dynamite. Absolute dynamite. Yes. I missed this one. I went to the wrong banner. I missed talking about. I'll go back to it now. Before we end today's stream, please smash a like if you haven't done so. Are we on 30 likes? Let's have a little look. We was on 28 last time. It'd be magnificent if you could get on 30 likes. I know a lot of people are streaming at the same time, so I appreciate you being here. I really do. 36, magnificent. We only had like 20, 22 people watching for the majority of the time, so I really, really do appreciate that. You're clearly enjoying today's show. Tomorrow's will be even better because I've got some fantastic guests on. Fantastic guests. Dan is brilliant. Might have Stell, might have a few others. Will definitely be 3 or 4. So make sure you tune in tomorrow. Best way to do so is subscribe and hit the notification bell. Right. How many more signings will we make? That was supposed to be the last question, but I deleted it. I've already said, I've gone on and on and on today about how important I think a striker is to get, but I don't think we'll sign someone up there. Even though we've got 7 points from 3 games, our finishing in front of goal has been woeful. It's been perfectly clear. But still, I don't think we'll sign one. One more centre-back is essential. It is absolutely key. VDV is very young. Even if he and Romero form this great partnership and keep a clean sheet for the next 3 games, they're going to get injured at some point. We can't have Dyer or Sanchez going back in there. We really, really can't, especially Dyer. He needs to go. We need to rip up his contract. That's one of the real loves I have of Ange. More than anything, that is the real love I have of Ange. The fact that he didn't give in to Dyer. So many managers give in to Dyer because he can translate. Because he licks the manager's asses. He hasn't. Ange hasn't fallen for it. He really hasn't. And I love that about him. He gets bonus points just for that, Postecoglou. He really, really does. Hopefully we tear up Dyer's contract. It won't cost that much to tear up Dyer's contract. He's got 12 months left on his contract. Rip it up. If he doesn't want to go, he's told people, he's announced in an interview that he's going to stay and fight for his position. Well, you rip up his contract, you can't stay and fight for your position, mate. So Dyer or Sanchez have to go. Hopefully Dyer, get a centre-back in. Centre-back and striker, that's what we need for me. And then I'm relatively happy. I'm not happy. Should have done all this business ages ago, but I'm relatively happy if we're looking at it from now until Friday when the transfer window ends. So yeah, I would have loved De Vrij or Laporte. Has Laporte gone to Saudi Arabia now? I was supposed to check. I know De Vrij stayed at Inter Milan. He signed a new contract, but his contract was out this summer. So we could have picked him up on a free, but he signed that contract. I would have loved De Vrij, 30, 31, Laporte, 28, 29. They've both won titles in the leagues they've been playing in. So yeah, I know De Vrij is definitely still at Inter. Laporte went, didn't he? I know I saw a tweet. Yeah. Saudi Pro League. Why can't they change the name from the SPL? Saudi Pro League, SPL. Scottish Premier League. Crazy. All other starters will be on the bench. They'll be on the bench. And that's the thing. You can bring them on if you're struggling. I think we'll struggle in the first half because I do think we'll put 6 or 7 new players in. I don't trust our depth. Then we can do things in the second half. I think in Carabao Cup, you still don't go extra time anymore, does it? Go straight to penalties. Hopefully, that's what we need. Although Burnley's not the toughest game. Famous last words. We could beat Fulham 5-0 and then lose to Burnley. But it's not the toughest game. So we can go pretty strong, especially if we're losing in the second half, as I said, or struggling. At least days left in the window after the links become buckle up last day, Phantom Day signings. Don't get sucked in. I won't get sucked in. I can assure you. But if Fulham do the same, then we can still win. It's just hope and it's faith. And I know they're the things that kill you. It's the faith that kills you. This is the best stream by far. That's very very generous thing to say, Dexter. Thank you for that. Where can we watch tomorrow's game? It's not one of the live games, no? It's not one of the live games on Sky Sports. I'm going to check that out tomorrow. Can I share where people can watch tomorrow? Oh, you mean on this show? On this show? Absolutely, man. Absolutely. I need to be better at it. My advertising for the show is not good enough. I need to go through Facebook. I need to go through Reddit. But I just like putting it up and put it on Twitter and then pressing the start stream. At the end of the day, even with 17 people watching now, the chat's on fire. Everyone's talking, and I'm pretty good at talking to myself. So, so it's all good. But we always get loads of people in the chat. Sometimes you have 40, 50 people watching. Sometimes you have 17. I don't care. As long as there's Spurs fans watching. But if you can share it, even better. The more the merrier. The more the merrier. Go for it, Dexter. Norman Stanley Fletcher. Who's Porridge? That's Porridge, isn't it? Laporte went to say, he did go to Saudi, didn't he? I'll wait till the host agrees. Yeah, 100%, 100%. Well, you mean, I don't know what you mean. But, oh, you want to share it? Oh, you want to share the game? That's what I thought. I didn't know what he was talking about there. I keep explaining to Spurs fans that a player's contract can only be cancelled with the player's agreement or it breaks employment law, and Spurs fans saying the players will agree. I'm pretty sure I could be wrong. Look, if you're in that bloody, if you're in that career and you know if that's what if you're really read up on this, then I'm not gonna argue with you. But I'm pretty sure all athletes can have their contract ripped up, but the compensation could be huge. That's the way I saw things. I definitely thought that was the case with footballers over the years. But if you're saying they don't, I think you can offer them a mutually exclusive compensation to try and not give them so much compensation, so they agree, all parties agree. But I thought you can rip it up if you wanted, and the player would have to accept. Could be wrong. If not, let him rot in the reserves. Dyer. We'll give him the opportunity. You can go. Final day of the window, somebody will want to take him. I know it sounds crazy, but someone in the Championship even might want to take Eric Dyer. There were rumours that he wanted to go back to Sporting, or Sporting were interested. I don't believe that. But if that was the case, then yeah, hopefully he could go to another club. Either way, he shouldn't be here. He definitely shouldn't be here for this season. I've got a funny feeling he will be. And if he is there this season, he will get at least 5 games, maybe 10 games. And Postecoglou won't get much choice. So the players are injured. Who else are you going to put there? Is Spurs TV the only place to watch? Possibly. I think the game's on Amazon Prime. Is it Amazon Prime? From where are you from, Howard? Though, are you international? Are you overseas, or are you in Britain? If it is, I could probably find it. I always try and find a dodgy stream to watch it on, and sometimes I'll just listen to the audio, which is crazy. It's a football game, but I'm old school. I can listen to the radio and then watch the highlights later, extended highlights later. But I'm going to be streaming straight after tomorrow, 10 p.m. I'm going to be streaming at 10 p.m. straight after. So I definitely need to find some sort of good stream so we can talk about it. But it's not just going to be a show on that game. Definitely not. Always stream on a Tuesday with guests. So make sure you're there for that. And that wraps up today's show. That wraps up today's show. Yeah, that's a good place to wrap it up. Thanks for watching. Appreciate the support. I don't know how we've got to hour 23, just me sitting here. But it's definitely the chat that's been on fire, and I always try to get interactive with the chat. So one final time, please make sure you like. Please subscribe. I'm delighted that we got even 36 likes, considering we've only had 20 people watching for the majority of the stream. It's fantastic. I really, really do appreciate it. And we're on the road to 3K. We're a long, long way from 3K. But if you haven't subbed, please do so. Peace out, everyone. Much love, everyone. Make sure you join us tomorrow, straight after the Fulham game. And come on, you Spurs, because the next time I see you, the Spurs Fulham game would have been played. Unless there are sanitation problems again and it gets delayed. I might have to delay tomorrow's stream then. But yeah, peace out. Much love. Stay strong. Stay safe. And stay free. I need a drink. Stay free. Peace out.